In the era of information, the new technologies and communication are decisive in the ways in which the information is structured, in the forms of its availability and application in the social sciences, including anthropology. Archaeology, as a subdiscipline of this science, allows us to understand the past, linking it to the present, being an important way to understand contemporary cultures and their values, and above all, to understand the genesis of our world and our social relationships. The digital revolution incorporates computers for teaching and diffusion of visual anthropology, the use of integrated text, video, audio, animations, virtual reality, simulation, databases, emails, discussion lists, news groups, digital archiving, electronic publications, research resources, and virtual libraries are only some of the possibilities for our daily work. The easy access to internet is part of this radical transformation of the ways in which social scientists work today. These innovations of doing research, diffusion, and exchange of information are called democratization and decentralization of knowledge. Technologies have been defined and manipulated by the social forces. In the case of archaeology, not excluding anthropology, its commercialization is something we cannot avoid or control. TV channels and mass media producers are frequently manipulating the information that has been scientifically generated in order to make the story more attractive to the general public. Our role is to educate and train new social scientists in the application and use of these technologies and their potential force. One of the most remarkable studies of an archaeological remain made by the British Museum with silicon graphics is the study of an Egyptian mummy, Nesperenov of Karnak. Scientists applying X-rays, computerized tomology, and computer-generated images with three-dimensional technology scanning made possible to look inside the mummy without unwrapping it. 2,800 years after the burial of this priest, his secrets are available to the world thanks to the new technologies. Today we know his place in history, his role in Egyptian society, the record of his life, what he looked like, his health, and how he was embalmed for eternal life. The new interactive technologies have been applied for the first time to a complete body, preserving a historical resource intact. In anthropology today, it is essential that the communities under study can present themselves using these technologies. It was Jan Rush who first set the example of teaching African societies the use of film. Today, the new communication technologies are in the hands of indigenous people, and they represent themselves in their own words and images. Word has been given to the oppressed, making him the subject, not the object of the film. In Mexico, there has been a tradition with concrete projects of training indigenous communities in the use of new technologies.
I worked at the beginning of the ethnographic films with the INI, National Institute of Indigenismo. The anthropological job there was not only to register the life of the Indian communities, but to convince them that we were not going to harm their cultures. The anthropologists in charge of the media projects of the National Anthropology Institution decided to give the Indian communities the instruments so they could film produce their own films and tell their own stories. I think it was a very important moment, development of media in Mexico. No? The people that had already been working before with the media transfer project of the INI started to train some people in radio and television in the mountains of Oaxaca. In this town, in Santa Maria Tlahuitoltepec, in the Mije Mountains, which this idea started in many ways. Right now, all the town is totally wired with internet, and they are totally connected, no? For educational purposes, for production process, and to defend their own culture also, no? Which I think it's a very interesting. Everyone thought that with the global process, the local cultures could be destroyed, and I haven't seen that at all. On the contrary, which means that the technology in the hands of the right people could be a very useful tool.
Televisión, radio, internet, teléfono, wadi geshna yakhaone sadana ha ya chana da hasham gospel, die nation de bonne da na yukhaje, hawen kapte, hawen buchsted estet hawada, naiden zos an deshnam geshna nam khaone sadana chinami de die nation de na biekte.
I can refer to the extraordinary experience of the Zapatistas in southeast Mexico, in Chiapas. They took their weapons to overcome their very difficult social conditions. They have been capable of achieving a world presence with liberating messages and a radical democracy directed to people of all ideologies. Traditionally, the eye of the camera recorded the indigenous people as research for anthropological purposes, or as a colorful image of a faraway past, as an example of resistance and dignity that humanity had forgotten, had lost, and regained again. Such is the case of the Zapatistas. Democracy was one of their main demands. A participant democracy that the Mexican Zapatistas have practiced through their caracoles, regional and local organizations of self-government, that for them signifies command by obeying.
Declara formalmente la muerte de los Aguascalientes. Declara formalmente el nacimiento de los 5 caracoles del sureste mexicano.
And what is more amazing, Zapatistas have achieved a world presence with the use of the new information techniques. The international circulation through the net of the struggles of the Zapatistas has become one of the most successful examples of the use of computer communications in social movements. That circulation has not only brought support to the Zapatistas from throughout Mexico and the rest of the world, but it has sparkled a worldwide discussion of the meaning and implications of the Zapatista rebellion for many other confrontations with contemporary capitalist economic and political policies.
In the year 2001, I was invited by the Chiapas Media Project to give a workshop on edition to 2 Zapatistas communities in Chiapas. This Chiapas Media Project gave the Zapatistas all the necessary equipment to make their own videos. The press is not present all the time, so they had to have a camera to register all these actions by the Mexican army and the police in order to denounce these actions. If they go to the human rights, all this, or to the government, they could show what had happened. Another part of the Chiapas Media Project was the exhibition of these videos. No? When I was there, it was very interesting because they also gave them a small projector with a screen so they could show their work in the communities. It's like an exchange of information. The other communities could see what's happening in their neighbor communities or far away communities. For them, the media is very important. Their main weapon is the word or the image. I remember one cartoon, the Mexican army found secret weapon of the Zapatistas, they said. And it was not a gun or a grenade, it was a typewriter or a laptop. So for them, the word, the image, is the most important weapon. I think these new technologies have been vital and very useful for the Zapatista movement and other movements throughout the world, especially Latin America. And I had a friend, Luciano, a Zapatista, who wanted to get into the army. He was a militian. He wanted to have a rifle so he could fight. But after 6 months with us, he said, no, I prefer, instead of a rifle, I prefer a camera. So I can tape all these injustice actions by the Mexican army mainly and military police.
The new era of information is one of the deepest revolutions that humanity has gone through because of its social, educational, and professional consequences. Still, these efforts must go on to contribute even further to the liberty and democracy of human beings and communications everywhere. The indigenous people around the planet keep resisting, and even though the tension has increased in some regions, the new information technologies have helped for a democratic struggle, avoiding more bloodshed. Solidarity among the groups and humanitarian organizations throughout the world has contributed to the Pacific resistance and has been an important fact to stop abuses and even war. The Mexican experience is not unique. Today's resistance for many communities is a matter of life and death, and it is in these struggles that the new technologies of information play a very decisive role. In the hands of the right people, they contribute to the development of humanity, but there are still some places where cameras cannot get into, so there is still a lot of work to be accomplished. Let us live a world where all the other worlds fit in.